Hey guys, welcome back, and today we're talking about forms in HTML, right? So yeah, let's get started. I've created a new file called forms, a new folder. Inside the folder, created forms in HTML, and we write forms here. So forms in HTML. So we're learning how to collect forms from visitors, different kinds of form control, and all that. All right. So what's an example of a form? This is a form, and this is an advertisement that you should subscribe to my newsletter so you get exclusive content. And one of my latest that I just recently posted is the difference between headless CMS and um traditional CMS. So I talked about what I use for my code, what I use for my blog, which was headless CMS, and I use I should not even be telling you guys unless you've read it. And I use iGraph CMS, and I increase it with React. Yep. So you guys should check it out. Alright, so let's go back. I also need to advertise my stuff. So let's go back here. Sorry, forms. Yeah. So now almost everything here is a form. If this Google bar right here is a form. The Google search engine is a form. You basically get to use forms almost every time. So you have like text. You have this kind of form, password input kind of form, text area. These things are called form controls. Radio buttons, check boxes, drop down boxes, submit boxes, uploading files. So we're going to be looking at all of this in this video. All right. So let's start. First, to start with forms, there's a structure for it. So we're going to h2. Let's call this forms structure. All right. So form. Now form controls live inside a form element. Right, this element should always carry an action attribute, as you can see, and we'll usually have a method and ID attribute too. All right, so you can have a method which could either be get or post, which I will also explain later on what the difference between get and post. All right, then and we usually use ID when we're dealing with CSS, so I'm gonna add ID here. So what's the purpose of action? Why do we have action here? So why does every form element actually require action attributes? That attribute stands for the value of the URL for the page in which the server will receive information when the form is submitted. Then why when we talk about methods, what do we mean by methods? We're basically saying the values from the form added to the end of the URL. Right? So um when you what's the difference between get and post? Alright, so get method used for short forms such as search boxes, or when you're just retrieving data from the web server and you're not sending any information that should be deleted from the database. Alright, then when do you use post? You use post when you want users to upload the file, or your form is quite long, or your form contains sensitive data, and your form requires adding information to the database or deleting information to the database. Alright, so that's what it is about. Now let's actually start something. Now there's something called text input, in which you can put in that allows users to actually input something. Alright, so let's put the input here, and we have a type text. You can see this box pops right up. Then we have name equals to username, right? And we have a size equals to 15, and let's give it a max length of 30. So I'm going to explain what each of this means. All right, so when you use input element, you're basically using it to receive something. You always have to use input kind of, and you determine what kind of input you'll be creating. So when we have type text here, what we're simply saying is that we're receiving a text from the user. Alright. So what about name, username? When the user enters the information into the form, the server needs to know which form control each piece of data was entered into. So for example, if you're using the login form, the server needs to know that, okay, the user, what has been entered is username, or what has been entered as the password. So assuming we're doing an input for password, for example, we're to do an input for password. So you put an input with the same also give it a name of what password, and with this same thing here. The remaining, the size and max line may not be necessary, but this two is quite important that you put it there. All right. So now when we talk about size, what do we mean? It's just saying the number of characters that should be seen on the screen. All right. So it just it's kind of old. It's not really so you don't see it used most of the time. Some of these things just so you know that kind of thing. So that's basically what you can know about it. Then we're going to talk about max length. Max length attribute is to limit the number of characters the user may enter into the text field. Alright, so that's the purpose of max length. So if you use a max length of 4, you can't enter more than 4 attributes. Right, then when we use the type, as we've used the type password, so using password here, we're supposed to use a type password. Alright, so that way when you type anything inside your form, it gives a dot. But if you're putting it as text, sorry, if you're putting this as text, you have to form a text, not a password, and you want your password to be secretive, isn't it? So use password. So it shows that it is hidden, alright? And you also use your name attribute. Another thing we're going to look at is something called text area. So tell us about yourself, for example. Alright. So text area basically will create like a long, it's kind of big box. Right, so it creates multi-line text input. Input will just create a single line text input, but text area will create a multi-line text input. So, and it should have an opening and a closing tab like this. Alright. So we could give it something like name of about 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 right, and ID will be used for styling. We don't really need to add an ID now. So we put columns 30 and all. So yeah, we could just put tell us about yourself. Right? So you can just clean this and start typing. Okay. So that's basically what it is about this. Then when we talk about codes and rows, just saying, let's talk about how long kind of want the stuff to be. So see, when you codes kind of shortens it. We shorten the rows to my probably shorten it. Let's see if you see shortened it quite. So that's basically the purpose of the rows and columns. Now let's talk about buttons. Radio buttons. I don't know if I should split this, but I don't think I would do that. Right, so let's talk about buttons. How can we use buttons? Let's say something like um select your favorite sport, for example. Alright, so yeah, we're going to be using something called radio buttons. Alright, alright, so I'm going to comment this out and just put something like this. So radio, let's deal with radio buttons. I'll teach you guys more about comments later on, But just for now, to do this comment, you just simply hold Shift Alt A, and it's going to generate this comment. Or you could do it manually by putting your angle bracket dash dash, your angle bracket um exclamation mark dash dash, and it might autocomplete, and you put whatever you want to put inside it. So radio buttons, alright. So radio buttons are basically used to allow users to pick various options. So I said select your first, so I can put VR there or put input, alright. And this time we'll change the type to radio, and give the name of sports, and we'll give it a value of, let's say, badminton. So yeah, badminton. And here we give it, say, badminton, we write badminton, and we could put something called checked. Check the course checked, right? And we could go on, we do another one, or another sport. We give you a radio, type of radio, a name, sports. I explained name earlier that it lets the user know what is actually being entered. So a value of football, football. I think that's what she's gonna say, right? So that's football side here, and the last one probably be, what other game is there? Volleyball. So there's radio, name, sports, value, volleyball, volleyball. So this is basically how radio buttons will be used. Alright, and if you want, you can comment that out, and it's going to show here. But just for simplicity, let's just leave it like that. Alright, so as mentioned earlier, the name attribute is actually what is sent to the server with the value of the value the user selects. So if the user selects badminton, then he knows that he's selecting badminton under the category of sports. So why did we use checked? So checked is an attribute that used to indicate which value, if any, should be selected. Alright, when the page loads. So it's like it just makes it automatic. Right, and the thing about a radio button that once it has been selected, it cannot be deselected. So the user can only select a different option if you are allowing the user to use like one option and want them to deselect. Alright, so that's, you can select like two options. So what now happens when it's the case where you actually want the user to select two options? That's where check boxes come into play. So checkbox, alright. And how do you do that? So we're going to create another p tag here, and we're going to say select your favorite, select the fruits you like. Alright, so let's do an input. Let's an input, and let's do checkbox. So that's going to create, so let's create something. Yeah, it's going to create this, as you can see, and we're going to put orange input, the checkbox. Let's say watermelon, and let's not forget that we're also going to put name, fruits, value of fruits, value of orange, and here too we're going to add a name of watermelon and a value of, so value of watermelon and a name of fruits. So let's add one more or maybe two more. I'm going to have an input again of checkbox, name of fruits, and a value of banana. So outside here was going to put what? Banana. I believe that's better. So here you can click two options. You can even click all if you want. And you can unclick. Unlike here if I like, I don't know if the word unclick is right, but I can't click out of it. Once selected. So if I also use checked attributes here, is also telling the user that maybe this likely option you can pick or something, and once the page reload it is always going to be fixed. Yeah, so that's why you use checked. And let's talk about drop down lists, right? um try and add breaks, right? So so yeah, we're going to say, sorry, I'm sorry, let's go carried away. So drop analytics box. So we use drop analytics where you also want users to select options from the drop down list. For example, let's say what device do you prefer? Let's say we want to ask the user this. Let's say select. Then we use select. Alright. So you use select to create a drop down list, and like you use UL to create a list. The items to put the items use li. So here to put our items we use um options. So let's say let's name it devices, and let's go option. Let's give it iPod. Yeah, we're going to say iPod. Here's another option. Let's give it radio. Radio. Let's iPhone. Another option. Android. So if we click it, we're going to see various options that we can click, and it automatically changes it. Alright, so that's how you work with it. So that's basically how you work with drop down lists. Right. So how do you know which one to use? If it's a radio button you want to use, or maybe or this drop down box. So you should consider that if your users you want your users to see all the options at a glance, um radio buttons would be better. And but if it's a very long list, I think using drop down boxes would be more suitable. Okay, so let's also talk about file input. How can we tell something? Let's put this as text area. So okay, let's go here. Let's do this file. I was using capital letter before. So let's have text area there, and I'll just come here and do file input, right? So we use file input when you want to, allow users to upload files and all. So use the type of file, and let's say something like, let's put a BR here, and let's say it's gonna put a p tag, say upload your file, upload your resume, right? So come here, let's give a name of resume, right? And let's do BR here. So let's create like a button. I'm going to give a type of submit. So this is also creating buttons. I'm going to put upload, right? So that should save. Yep. Then I don't know why it's not showing. Yep. Upload. So that's basically how it was. So if I click on choose a file, see opens for me my file, this, and I can see what that I have here. So that's basically how uploading files work with HTML. Then if I'm to submit, we'll use submit buttons, and you can just put submit. And if you subscribe, you can put um let's submit. Let's give an input, submit, and name. Let's say something like subscribe. Alright, and you can put value subscribe. So whatever value you put, you want to be inside or to be displayed inside the button. Alright, so you putting a type submit already creates the avenue for this. So just want to create a space here. Or if you want to do something like you want to do submit, there are also button elements, no doubt. But this is also, when I mean button, I mean you can actually put button. So let's put submit value submit, and there are actually buttons that could actually take it submit, right? So if either way you would like, just remove this because I just didn't make forms. All right, so I let me leave the button so you guys just see how it works. Now let's talk about labeling. Since we started this form, I've been using paragraphs and all to do it, but that's not really the legit way. A more legit way would be to use label. So I'm going to put labeling form control. Alright, so you can use label in two ways. You can either use it to wrap, both the text and description and the form input. So let's put this so how to use labels. One, wrapping around both text description and the form input. So let's do a let's put that into practice. So for example, could have something called age here, and then we put our input here, and here we could give it a type of text and name age. So this is like a typical way of using labels, right? So I think I'll just use BR, right? So just to separate, so we know we're using labels, right? And maybe I'll put a simple using, using this is not so right. I don't know, I don't think it's so right. But just put it just for explanation sake. And or the second way you could go about using labels would be to separate separate the label from the form control and use the form attributes, the four attributes, to indicate which form you're referring to. So let's just take a look at that. So I could have let's say we're talking about gender now. Alright. So you can put an input and you give it radio, right? And you give an ID of female and name, gender, and value F. So it could be our here. I don't want like a double space. I'll put BR there and gender F. So let's give it F. Or rather, I'll do label then 4 female because we're giving an ID female here. So that's say we're referring to female. Alright. Then we can now put in here female. And instead of your P paragraph. So it knows that we're talking about female here. You can now do another one, input type radio ID female, so ID male, name, gender, value M, and where's the label, then given male. Alright, male here. So yeah, it knows that okay, you're referring to that. So the four attributes indicate, like ensure when you're using the four attribute, you're using an ID attribute which uniquely identifies the element. Alright. So it's also good to ensure the value of the four attribute matches that value of the ID attribute that you're labeling for. Right? Battery is about to die. I think I got it back on. Right. So it's important that you use your photo. So we're going to talk about field sets now. Now we're going to come out of that form and do an H2 and call field sets. I'm bringing it out because field set is quite different. Right. So what's a field set? A field set basically field set groups related form controls together. Right. So I'm using by using field sets. Right. So inside there we have a legend. What a legend would do is to um contain the caption that helps to know what's the purpose of this form. All right. So let's do something like contact details. Then we have a label of email. So time I'll just do it like this. And we have an inner input. I'm going to give you a type text, name, email. All right. And this, I'm sorry, this will be wrapped here. Yeah. So type email, and we come out again and do a label. We'll say mobile. Put a BR here and input, and give it a type of text and name, telephone. Right. So here you have something like this, and it's looking all squishy. Let's try and fix that. Right. So yeah. So this is looking better. So this is what a legend does. A legend basically groups your form. So that's what a legend does. So there's something called form validation that you need to do. For example, if you're to enter your username or something, sometimes you find things like please fill out the field and all that. So how do we do that? Let's go back up to our password, and we're going to use something called required. So basically, if you want users to actually fill in a particular form control, use required. All right. So that's the purpose of required. So maybe I don't know if we have a submit button. So yeah, when I create submit, it says please fill the field. So that's what we mean by form validation. And also you could also impute your date of birth. So let's come somewhere here and say so date impute. Okay. And we say let's use label, right? Let's use for birth. So let's say date of birth. All right. We'll come out and use our input and give it a type of date, name of birth, right? And we'll go and give an input of type of submit, and maybe I might not need to do this. Let's cut it out. So let's look for that step. So yeah, you can just click and select whatever date you are planning. Right, so that's basically how you use it. Out of email input, if you were to use an email, let's come somewhere up here below our password. We're going to say, let's use this and say enter your email. All right, then you can put an input and say what email. There you're specifying the type, and you say name is what email. So if for eventually I put a submit button here, I just want to use it as an example. If for eventually I put a submit button here and I put my value submit, right? If I come here and click here, it says please fill in the field. Let's say I don't put this. So I'm supposed to get, but there's times when you're about to do things like this and you're told to actually enter a valid address. I'm trying to see Where can we get that? This doesn't seem to be working. But yeah, that's basically how you do an email. Alright. Or if you were to enter URL too, you could do the same thing. So you could say please enter the URL of your website. Let me just come here. Let's say enter the URL of your website. Right, sorry. And give an input. Okay, I think that's where we're wrong. Let's come out of here. Okay, let's try that now. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm just trying something, please. See, this coding thing, if you master and finish. So if you don't know PG or something, it's okay. I'll find out. I'll figure it out later. So input type text. You use input type URL, right? And maybe name website, and you could add a submit. So let us thought maybe it was because of this. Apparently, it's not because of that. So I think that's basically all. Let's search for something. I think there should be a search input. Search input HTML. So we search that, figure out that. But let's try it on our own. So we want to put a search input on our website. Let's go below. Let's go down. Okay, let's just use it. Let's use it. So let's going to come somewhere here and put search inputs. Anyways, okay, you don't have to, it must not be exactly how I'm doing mine. So let's try search. Let's put an input type. Let's do search. Okay, and let's give it a name of search and placeholder. I'll say enter a keyword. So yeah, let me just talk about placeholders. So placeholders basically they are used to they're shown on a text box until the user clicks that area, right? So like here we say enter a keyword. So once I click it and start typing, it actually goes away. So that way you can actually search for something. So that's the purpose of search. As you can see, when you click, you can tell you to go, you can go and all that. So that's the purpose of search. So you can under here we can create a button. Say input type we submit and give a name of zero value rather value of search. So you can actually click here if you want to search for something. So let's try that. I don't it's not gonna connect into it anyway. So that's basically what it does. So let's also add placeholder to the name, the first thing we did here, and let's give it a placeholder of enter your name. So that's going to do this enter name. So let's start typing in Google. Also do it for enter your password, placeholder, enter your password. So that's how search boxes work. So with all said and done, I am quite lazy to give you guys an exercise. Really, I'm really lazy to give an exercise. But I'll probably post the exercise on my GitHub just so you can just check it out for the forms. Because I feel we've spent quite a lot of time on forms. I kind of want to move. Yep. So I think that's okay. So I'm going to post I'm going to put the answers will be the exercise I'm going to put it, but I won't do a video on it. So just practice on your own and see you guys in the next video. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.